A month ago, Bangkok was hit by a massive tremor, followed by several aftershocks. A massive earthquake in Myanmar sent buildings in the Thai capital shaking, and one solitary office tower still under construction folding on itself. Investigations have been launched into the collapse, which has killed at least 65 people, with dozens still unaccounted for. Success Sambat with the findings.
It came down in seconds. A 30-plus story high building crumbling in on itself like a house of cards, caused by an earthquake with its epicenter some 1,000 kilometers away in Myanmar. What was once the site for the new headquarters of Thailand's State Audit Office is now a gaping wound, covered in concrete and dust, lying open in the north of Bangkok. For the past month, Thai officials have been working around the clock, with heavy machinery digging into an almost 30-meter-high mountain of rubble, in search of 103 construction workers that were there at the time of the collapse. Most have been found dead. Dozens of construction workers are still feared trapped in there, but it's no longer a rescue, but rather a recovery mission. And this is no longer a disaster zone, it is a crime scene now. Investigators are tasked with finding out why this was the only building in the whole of Bangkok to collapse and who's to blame. In an empty lot down the road, the cleared rubble is being stored. Among the tens of thousands of tons of concrete and steel rods lie possible clues that may unearth the cause of the collapse. But the work required is akin to searching for a needle in this concrete stack. Right now, the investigation is going in several directions, with many suspects arrested for different crimes. First are the steel bars, manufactured by Yuan Steel, based out of eastern Thailand. Initial tests found that the company's steel bars failed to meet safety standards. Moreover, the factory was also ordered shut last December for safety violations related to a separate accident. The steel bars from the collapsed site are currently undergoing further testing. Another focus are the elevator shafts. The walls have been thinned out, which Thai authorities suggested may have weakened the structural integrity of the building that gave way during the earthquake. The tower was a joint venture between Italian Thai Development, a long-standing Thai construction company, and China Railway No. 10, under the Chinese state-owned China Railway, a group behind many large-scale infrastructure projects in China and abroad. China Railway No. 10's structure has raised questions. 3 Thai nationals hold a majority of the company's shares as required by Thai law, while the Chinese executive held the remaining 49%. Thai law enforcement officials have arrested the Chinese man and charged him on suspicion of using Thais as shareholders in name only, not allowed under Thai business laws. Mana Nimit Mongkon is the chairman of a Thai anti-corruption watchdog. His organization has monitored this project and observed several problems with it, including a constant lack of supervising engineers and multiple delays, and progress running behind schedule.
เดือนมกราคมปี68ที่ผ่านมาเนี่ยนะครับเราก็ยืนยันไปอีกครั้งหนึ่งว่าถ้ายังอยู่ในสภาพนี้มันเหมือนเดิมครับคุณจะมาเร่งงานในช่วงสุดท้ายส่งงานเดือนสิงหาคมมันเป็นไปไม่ได้แล้วถ้าคุณทำได้มันแปลว่าคุณจะต้องรวบรัดการทำงานมากมันอาจจะผิดขั้นตอนการก่อสร้างมันอาจจะไม่ได้มาตรฐานทางวิศวกรรมก็ได้นะครับเราก็เห็นท่าทีของทางผู้บริหารสตงนะว่าต้องการที่จะยกเลิกสัญญาก่อสร้างแล้วก็ยื่นให้ผู้รับเหมาเหล่านี้เนี่ยต้องขึ้นบัญชีดำไม่ให้รับงานราชการต่อไป
The government has set up a task force looking into the project and why it was allowed to continue. At a recent press briefing, Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra bemoaned the slow progress of the investigation and also called out the State Audit Office itself for not coming forward enough to assist in the probe.
เราต้องหาหลักฐานหาเหตุผลให้ครบนะคะเพื่อจะได้มีข้อมูลที่สามารถรับผิดชอบต่อชีวิตที่เสียไปอย่างมากมายแบบนี้ด้วยนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นจริงๆก็ต้องขอความร่วมมือค่ะไม่ว่าจะเป็นเอกสารทั้งหมดนะคะจากสตง.นะคะรวมถึงการรายงานผลจากคณะกรรมการตรวจสอบว่ามีการผิดสัญญานะคะแต่ไม่มีการยกเลิกสัญญาในเวลาที่กำหนดตั้งแต่มกราคม68
For Surachet Prawin Wongwood, who's chairing a parliamentary committee on how state funds are being used. It's ironic that the State Audit Office, which examines government finances and accounts, is being evasive about being audited itself. He wants the government's fact-finding group to bring in clarity.
ผมว่าสิ่งที่สังคมควรจะเรียกร้องก็คือขอรูปธรรมว่า90วันคุณจะ deliver อะไรนอกจากประเด็นนี้ก็ยังมีเรื่องของความรับผิดชอบต่อสังคมหมายความว่าหน่วยงานนี้ด้วยความที่เป็นองค์กรอิสระที่มีความพิเศษแตกต่างจากหน่วยงานรัฐทั่วๆไปนั้นเราเลยไม่ค่อยเห็นความยึดโยงกับประชาชนความพร้อมของหน่วยงานที่จะมาชี้แจงต่อสังคม
The working group is expected to present its findings in about 2 months. Elsewhere in Bangkok, local authorities have finished examining if the March 28th earthquake has affected the stability of other buildings in the city. Damage was found in a handful of buildings. The State Audit Office Tower remains the only one that couldn't withstand the quake. The reason for it is still waiting to see the light of day. Saksit Sayasombat, CNA, Bangkok.
Authorities in Thailand focused on criminal investigations, but the impact of that earthquake in Myanmar, where the earthquake struck, has been far more devastating. Tonight we're joined by Alexander Matheou. He is Regional Director for Asia Pacific at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Matheou.
Thank you for having me.
Bangkok. In Thailand, their crime scene is narrowed down. Where you are, you're looking at 200 to 300,000 people on the streets without homes, looking ahead to the monsoon season.
That's right. It's a disaster without a clear epicenter. It's a long fault line and around 400 kilometers. And naturally, the impact along that fault line is quite varied. Some people have tragically lost their houses totally, their loved ones, their businesses. Other people have damaged houses, but they're repairable. Other people have more seriously damaged houses and they're not safe, but don't feel safe to go back to them. Other people were displaced anyway because of fighting and living in, for example, monasteries. Those monasteries have been severely damaged. So it's a varied picture along that 400-kilometer fault line. The closest epicenter around Mandalay and Sagaing is where you would expect to see, and you do see, the greatest damage. And that's where we're concentrating the greatest part of our response.
I think earlier, and certainly in the last few weeks, one challenge has been accessibility, not helped, in fact, by ongoing civil war in Myanmar. Your organization needs to work with local authorities, so always necessary to try to keep human needs over and above local politics. Has that been very hard to do in managing relief for survivors of this earthquake?
Well, I think we have to give credit where credit's due. The first responders have almost all been local actors, such as the Myanmar Red Cross. It's local businesses, local communities, volunteers from civil society organizations, neighbors. These are the ones that came out and provided the life-saving first aid, the search and rescue. And from that point onwards, they've continued to provide the majority of the food, the water, the shelter for the people who have been displaced. Now, many regional neighbors were also very generous and came in quite quickly to support the search and rescue effort. Many flew in with medicines and have boosted the capacity of hospitals. And we've increasingly seen global solidarity as well. And that's enabled and will enable a bigger response into the recovery phase. Now, because the epicenter of the earthquake is for the most part away from where there is fighting, it does mean that it's possible to provide access and support to the majority of the people affected by this earthquake. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, for example, has supported already 110,000 people in the last 4 weeks, and it's only just the beginning. We're really going to focus now on the challenge of getting people home.
It is, in fact, just the beginning. So I think on April 17th, you tweeted that IFRC has delivered 200 metric tons of aid, hygiene parcels, tarpaulins, shelter kits. Every day, you're purifying 30,000 litres of water. This is just the beginning. In just a moment, an earthquake can shatter lives. Between the damage of a home to the repair of a home, to the repair of lives and livelihoods, IFRC is looking at least 2 years of continued support for Myanmar. What's the scale of aid and continued building that will require IFRC to stay on the ground in Myanmar?
So we have the short to medium term challenge, which is over 200,000 people, as you've mentioned, living on the streets under tarpaulins and about to enter the monsoon season. There we're looking at shelter, food, medical care, clean water, hygiene and sanitation, everything that can be done to maintain safety and dignity while people are unable to go back to their homes. But the big challenge, and our big challenge, is to try to support as many people as possible. We're aiming for around 50 to 20,000 households to get back to their home, at least within 2 years, but we'd much rather do it sooner than that. That's not just a logistically difficult operation around clearing rubble and helping people construct new homes. It's also about land rights. People might have lost their homes and actually it turns out they didn't have registration for that land. Or you may be a displaced person and the monastery you stayed in has been destroyed. Or perhaps you are renting your property. So along that fault line and in the epicenters of Mandalay and Sagaing, there will of course be a lot of different cases that we have to manage when we target to spend our money as well as we can. But our ambition is clear. Protection in the short term while people are on the streets, get as many people back home safely as quickly as we can, and try to invest also in the institutions that have done this heroic first response, because sadly, Myanmar is a disaster-prone country and they're going to have to do it again.
Our final question here, Mr. Matheou. Disaster-prone and certainly not helped by current challenges it faces. So civil war, a leadership that is splintered, control of the country that is at this point divided. But in terms of targeted, effective post-quake rescue and recovery, that task is in fact manageable and something that you can deliver on. Final question.
Well, I think that's a very important point. Myanmar is a complex context for humanitarian work. It always has been. And the last few years, more so than ever. It's a divided country. There is conflicts in various parts of the country. The leadership of the country is contested. The control of the country from the capital is varied and smaller than it was in the past. That has made aid very difficult to negotiate over recent years. However, because the epicenter of this earthquake is largely in areas less affected by that conflict, it will be possible in response to this disaster to provide assistance to by far the majority of people who have been affected. And that's an important message because we do want to encourage anyone who has been generous enough to give money that there is the possibility, there is assurance that we can, we are, and we will reach the people affected and do our best to support them in the short term and to recover in the long term.
Oh, thanks, Ed. Alexander Matheou, Regional Director for Asia Pacific at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies.